the Wounded Warrior Project organization. And this is my suggestions for fiduciary governance. I'm Nancy Jackson for the class of Nonprofit Governance, Summer 2024. The key points that will be covered in this discussion or presentation will be number one, to explain how these gaps in governance occurred, or the how did the overspending occur, and number two, how can this be averted futuristically through planning and strategy. Gaps in fiduciary governance that led to the overspending of the entertainment sector can be narrowed down into three areas: failure to establish a code of ethics, or if one is established, failure to implement it as a code of ethics; lack of timely financial audits and oversight that could have evidenced the spending earlier; and a failure to include a risk management policies in the organization's code of ethics. All of the struggles mentioned can be overcome quickly through strategy, oversight, and education. Consequences of gaps in fiduciary governance are many, but the top three are increased liabilities for the organization through on the cash flow statement, or government imposed fines for the lack of oversight from the board. The board could develop a misunderstanding of the laws that govern the organization, which could lead to decisions that are in direct violation of those laws and create more compliance issues. And these compliance issues could lead to a lack of transparency to the donor base and the volunteers. And that could reduce their trust in the organization, which could lead to the reduction of donations received from those donors. There are so many avenues to avert the issue of fiduciary governance gaps. But in the future, the top three ways to repair this would be education. Educate the board members so that they understand what financial statements are, financial analysis. They got to be able to read and comprehend those statements. Just handing them to them won't work. They have to be able to read and understand them. Secondly, employ an outside auditing company to audit the organization and provide a detailed financial information, providing those results to the board in a timely fashion. Don't do it next year. Don't have 23 just given to you at the first of 24. You need to do several routine audits so that everybody has an understanding of where the money is going, what's getting the most money. And then third is have a board develop a risk management strategy and oversight policy. So just to have all of these, just to have the audits, to do a spending check. Now, if the board doesn't understand what the financial statement's saying, there's no reason to provide them with financial statements. So make sure that your board members have an understanding and a comprehension of financial statements, and that they understand where the money is going and what kind of decisions need to be made. Other suggestions included are for the board to provide clarity of their expectations from the director and the management staff, and to maintain financial transparency to both internally to the volunteers and externally to the donor base, and to increase the trust from the donor base and the volunteers involved. Now, your volunteers, they support the mission, and they are usually your bigger donors. So you would want to make sure that everybody has clarity when it comes to the financial health of the Wounded Warrior Project. Some strategies that could lead to the fiduciary governance repairs are pretty simple. We could start with creating an agenda and distributing it to the board members before the meeting time, and the decision has to be made. That gives your board members time to do some research if they like, have clarity of what's expected of their responsibility when they go to these meetings. It needs to be provided in just enough ahead of time where any questions or concerns of each board member can be recognized, discussed, and a decision can be made. Now, also, another thing that could really help is have regular board meetings, have them regularly scheduled. And of course, then your board members are going to have their agenda. They're going to know when the meeting is, that it's a regular, timely meeting for discussion and decisions, and that they're aware of what issues they will be addressing and what needs to be addressed about it exactly. It's also scheduled meeting regularly. Make sure that the entire board participates. Everybody needs to show up in those meetings. And then finally, record the minutes to those meetings by the secretaries so that if somebody has to be replaced, they could read those minutes from the previous meetings and they would understand what decisions had been made and why. You never know when you're going to have to replace someone, and it could take quite some time to get up to speed historically within an organization. So if you have really clear minutes that anyone could understand and catch on to where you're at exactly, that's optimal. To conclude this presentation on fiduciary governance were some suggestions as to how this oversight and spending occurred, what the board's responsibilities are, and with clarity and communication, the organization can be transparent both internally and externally. So let's go back over these. Education is very important for all the board members, the director, and the CEO, so that they understand financial statements, financial metrics, and what they are trying and what they indicate. Full board participation, that's very, very crucial to this process. Everybody needs to be there and know what's going on. Teamwork. Teamwork is critical for a board success and achievement of the mission. If they can't work together, then not much is going to get done, and this is a very, very much a teamwork environment. And then finally, transparency. If there's transparency internally and externally, then there's less nefarious activity going on, and you have more trust from your donor base and your volunteers and just the general public. You know, they have to trust you if this is going to be successful. I appreciate this opportunity to present my suggestions to the board of the Wounded Warrior Project for gaps in fiduciary governance policies and how these gaps can be averted futuristically. Thank you so much for your time and attention during my presentation and discussion. Good luck to you.